Hey there, humans of healthcare. Get ready for the best story I've ever done and the best interview of a hospital executive I've ever seen. I'm not kidding. Unequivocally, this is the best I've ever seen. Doug was just interviewed by Humans of Healthcare a few months ago, and going into that interview, actually before it was released, after he filmed it, he was terrified. He talks about that in this video. He was terrified about people coming out of the woodwork from his past, Doug haters that might have pounced on him, might have called him a liar. That's running through the back of his mind before he releases this video on Humans of Healthcare. But what happened was miraculous. It was the opposite. But what it did, the results that have happened since the video was released, are the most intriguing part of what you're going to watch. He actually got affirmation from people he admires the most. And it caused him to have confidence to do things and lead in a way that's now led Rolling Plains Memorial Hospital on a trajectory that he didn't ever think was possible. Now, he knew that the hospital had a lot of potential, but what's transpired since, due to the confidence, due to his leadership, due to the foundation that's been built, is the best story going in America right now for rural hospitals. They're having an amazing renaissance. They're in Sweetwater, Texas, a small town, 50-bed hospital in West Texas. They've attracted doctors, talented doctors to their hospital. They've grown their patient base. Their staff is super happy. And one of the markers that they use is the EMS drivers, the folks that work at the local fire station, told them that it used to be not 6 months ago where people would get into the ambulance and not want to go to Rolling Plains. They'd say, no, please don't take me there. But now it's the opposite. Now they're demanding to go to Rolling Plains. They had more babies last month than they've ever had before. They set a record for the month. And they're growing their labor and delivery where everybody else is retracting. So this story is great for a multitude of reasons. And one thing that came to mind was, for you out there that might be a hospital executive of a small hospital and you feel hopeless. I heard from a psychologist once, they said, if you're in a tough relationship, if you're married or in a romantic partnership and things aren't going well, you're not getting along, things aren't clicking, it's always a good idea to maybe go watch a new couple who's newly in love. Watch their attitudes towards each other, the way that they behave towards each other. Maybe even their technique and the way that they love each other. And it will remind you what you can do to help your relationship. So this is very similar to me. If we can put out here a story that has so much positivity, that builds confidence and shows you the way that you should behave, the healthy behaviors, the healthy attitudes, and even the good techniques, then maybe you'll remember what you need to do. And maybe you won't make decisions being frightened. Maybe you'll make decisions with confidence, because no matter what situation you're in, if you apply confidence and you apply passion and energy to whatever it is that you're facing, you're going to get better outcomes. Doesn't matter what you're going through. It doesn't matter if you feel like you deserve it. The truth is, what people need around you is your confidence and your best. So I hope you'll watch, and please share. This is important, because if you share this story with others, who knows what they might need to see. And this might help them. This might help people around them. But please share, like, comment, let us know what you think. And to Rolling Plains Memorial Hospital, I think you're the best thing going right now, the best story in the United States. And I know that's hard for you to fathom. I know you're humble, and it'd be hard for me to fathom if I was a part of that organization. But that's the truth. I've worked in rural hospitals for a long time, and I know a lot of people, and a lot of them are struggling. So you are a beacon of hope. You might be the best story there is. And I'm so proud to be able to be with you and show people why you're attracting the best doctors, why you're having the growth, why your community feels so passionate and so curious about your hospital. Congratulations, and thank you for letting me and Humans of Healthcare be a part of this ride. Please enjoy this great video with Doug Dippel, and we'll talk soon. More to come, by the way. There's other doctors that we interviewed while I was here to interview Doug. So you'll hear firsthand why they chose Rolling Plains, what they love about the way they're being led, and what their idea about their future is and their vision. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
It was really uncomfortable being interviewed 3 to 6 months ago or whenever we did that. And you know how terrified I was with letting it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just see, the Doug haters of my past just jumping on and say, this guy's nothing like that. Even though I genuinely felt I was 100% honest in displaying, who I was and what I wanted to do. And
lots happened since we last talked, right? So you've hired some people, you've brought in some, some talent, and I'm just curious, how do you feel about what's going on?
Let's see. That's pretty easy to say, very cautiously optimistic.
Nice. That's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of things seem to be trending in the right direction. When we talked a few months back, we had the potential of a doctor coming on part-time and the potential of our first successful resident actually joining us. And those things have come to be. And, their schedules are filling up just like we had hoped, which means there's that many more citizens of Nolan County that can get a provider here. It's really been an interesting journey as far as the providers. I don't think Dr. Anderson was even on the map, was he, when we talked last time?
No.
So that's an amazingly interesting story. So June of 20 is when I became the CEO, and immediately I actually went to the board. Part of my interview was campaigning on the fact that I thought we needed to get an OB-GYN here because of our huge out-migration of births from Nolan County, and that, our family practitioners that do deliver babies are incredibly awesome, and the people that go to them are incredibly loyal to them, but there was going to be people not give them a chance. They needed that OB-GYN bigger city title, so we've been recruiting an OB-GYN. I don't know how many candidates we've had, probably 20 candidates, and had one actually sign a contract and back out on us like a month before he was supposed to start. It's just been a daunting. We've spent so much money trying to recruit an OB-GYN, and we wanted just the right person. And we got to the point where I don't want to say that we had to give in at all. We found a really good OB-GYN. He lives in the Georgetown area and practicing down near the coast, Port Lavaca. And we had him contract. He had signed the contract. It was in my email box for me to sign it. And, it was a unique situation in that he wanted to work 7 days on, 7 days off, which you might say, how are you going to make that work? If you could get women to deliver babies or need OB-GYN surgery 7 on, 7 off, it would work perfect. But so we had already figured out how we were going to be thinking out of the box and how we were going to make this work. And he could provide a lot of extra call for some of our family practitioners that would give them some time off because he was going to be living here for 7 days a week. So it would cover some of the call. At the same time, he would give us that credibility of having, an OB-GYN physician. And so that's sitting on my inbox on a Friday. On a Monday, I get a call from a lady named Chanel Anderson, who was talking to me kind of vaguely, but wanting to talk about her husband, who's an OB-GYN in Abilene, and considering making a change. And that conversation went really, really well, and they wanted to come meet me. So that Friday, we were actually supposed to meet at the Pink Flamingo restaurant here in Sweetwater, Texas at 2:00. And luckily, right before we met, I looked up the Pink Flamingo and they closed at 2. So I called them and said, we got to find another place to meet. We met at the country club, and we were the only ones there at the country club, and just had a great conversation. And I said, you want to come see the hospital? I mean, it just couldn't have gone better. Everywhere that we toured, just ran into super engaged people. Yeah. So, not that anybody here wouldn't have represented us well, but we just everywhere we went, it was amazing. He went back to the OB department, to OB-GYN, and he saw the facilities, that was our latest construction. My predecessor, that was her vision, was if you build it, they'll come. And I think I get to add to that vision that if you build it and you have the right guy, they will come. Right. So anyway, he got to see this tremendous facility, and then the office building the office that we had available that he could move straight into happens to be the biggest, nicest office that we have. So he walks in and the facilities are so much better than what he's used to in a much bigger area in Abilene.
Yeah.
And that's not to knock Abilene's facilities at all. That's just to say luck of the draw. He practices in a department that's pretty much brand spanking new facilities, and the office is brand new and it's nice, and he's just touring and he's getting the whatever's pushing him is part of the equation, but the other part of the equation is the pull that we had that I didn't even count on. We set up an interview with all these different OB-GYNs, and here's this guy that just comes in and just I don't know how to put it in perspective. We did 294 births last year, and he did 303 all by himself.
Yeah.
So to have that potential come in and validate, saying your facilities are wonderful, your people are wonderful. So anyway, that got a call from his wife on a Monday. He came to see me on a Friday. He said, I will be in touch. I didn't really know what that meant. I was hoping that meant the next Monday he would call me, and I didn't get a call on Monday, so a little disappointed. But he called Tuesday, and he said, I'm coming.
Wow.
And the moving truck was here on Friday.
Oh my gosh.
So not only did we make an impression, but we made a huge impression. And I've said it to you before, you can imagine there's a lot of people, is he really coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is this going to do with our relationship with the hospitals in Abilene?
Yeah.
We didn't seek out Dr. Anderson, but it kind of came to just this, I don't know, just this perfect storm. You're always talking about the perfect storms that are bad. This is a perfect storm that was good.
Yeah.
And Abilene has told us that they're happy for us, which they've told me that before, that they really need us to be successful.
Yeah.
It's a rural feeder hospital to them. They need us to be successful. So we've got it from their blessing. And, where I was going with that was there's people that have said, Dr. Anderson fell into y'all's lap, which there's a whole lot of truth to that. But the other side of the truth is a really nice lap to fall into.
Right, exactly.
We had the facilities, and that's what we've been trying to grow, is that culture of engagement, that kind of everything that I'm hoping that he was looking for, he has got to find here. And there's been some challenges, but very few, like I said. And I'm really proud of this facility, from everybody from plan ops to the folks in coding, billing, electronic medical record people. I mean, us, like I said, to get a phone call on a Monday, have a meeting on Friday, get another phone call on Tuesday, and he's here on Friday.
Yeah.
And he was seeing patients that next Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that crazy. And I'm still trying to get some shelves built for him for his files. I mean, we're a month and a half into it, and we're still adjusting. But the fact that we were able to step up and accommodate more than doubling of our business overnight, as far as what the girls back in, I say girls and guys back in OB, what was it? Becky Bohall is one of our most tenured nurse that we have, and she's the one that kind of caught it, saying, I think the record that we've ever done here is 35 births in a month, and that would have been back in the 80s, 90s maybe.
Yeah.
And in March we did 37 births.
Gosh. So
we set a new record for the hospital. Which is, so anyway, optimistic. The whole situation with, I remember a quote when you interviewed me last time, when I said, OB doesn't really make money, but you're capturing the family.
Yeah.
Typically the ladies of the household make the decisions, and if they choose to have their baby here and we do a good job, then we're capturing that family for life if we do a good job. And I'm not sure if Dr. Anderson listened to that interview or not, because he asked me one day, he said, so you don't think OBs really make a lot of money? And I said, well, no, it's a service that if we're good at and we offer it and do it well, then it will translate into the hospital being a busier place. So anyway, I'm almost thinking that he must have seen that to ask me that question.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm always curious, like how, these things, if you were to script them out, how could it have gone any better? You wouldn't have come up with this. It's just, It feels so amazing to me like this happened.
It's amazing, but I'll also tell you the terrifying piece of that was me making that phone call to the other OB-GYN.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
To say, I mean, I went way out on a limb and say, I'm really sorry, but I think we're going to go another direction. And I didn't have,
Everything worked out.
It was not even a handshake yet. It was just a really hopeful feeling.
Yeah.
So it was I don't want to say it was a gamble because it was, I felt really good about it. But if you think about recruiting somebody for 4 years, you finally got somebody that you're about to sign, and then you say, I'm going to take a chance that we've got this local guy that's already got a full clientele built up and has a great reputation, and he wants to work here. So anyway, we made the leap of faith, and it's really turned out to our favor.
Yeah.
And then the other doctors that we talked about as well, Dr. Burson, who I think you interviewed today. She's just full of ideas.
Yeah, she is.
When we talked last time, we talked a lot about engagement and letting your good people run, and if there's ever an example of someone that's just obviously very intelligent and has a lot of ideas, and let's figure out a way to let her run. And I think she's looking for that. That's what's really interesting. I really think she's looking to trust and have that partnership with an organization as well.
Yeah.
Something that may have eluded her in the past. And if we can make it click, I think it could be synergistic. And Dr. Matthews, I think we've almost hired 3 Texas Tech residents that have gone through our program. The very first one that came through, and then 2 others that one of them we were just about to write a contract with, but it just hadn't quite worked. And Dr. Matthews is it costs us probably $70,000 a year to participate in this residency program with Texas Tech. And you do that for a lot of reasons. It does give the doctors some relief, and it gives the doctors some energy in teaching. It also gives our staff some energy in teaching and working with medical students or residents. But ultimately, you gotta say one of the biggest reasons we did it is for recruitment. And Dr. Matthew has stayed on, signed a 2-year contract, and just from her residency, her first day as a family medicine physician, she had more than 400 patients in the queue that she had built up through residency. So it's kind of like Dr. Anderson. If we would have hired the other OB-GYN, he would have been starting from scratch. Dr. Anderson already comes with a built-up patient population, and because we hired a resident that had already established relationships with over 400 patients, it's like you're a year ahead of where you would have been if you just hired somebody off the street. So that's been really positive.
Yeah, well, they had a theme when we talked to them, and it was because we asked the question about leadership, and actually we said, how do you like to be led? And they had similar answers. Like, they like autonomy, but they also like that you have genuine curiosity. That when you ask a question, like, they feel like you listen to their response, and that you're not just shaking your head yes to get them out the door. Like, they believe that you're there to help them see through the idea that they've come up with and the thoughts. And I mean, that to me is, I don't know, if I was being recruited, I'd be interested in knowing what that was like, and want somebody like that to report to, if you will, So anyway, they have a lot of confidence in what you're doing. They were comfortable. They were at ease with their surroundings and the leadership here. So it was nice. It was really, these interviews have revealed, I think, the truth about what it's like to be here as a physician. And they've got a CEO who's got vision. They've got a CEO that they believe in, and somebody that they know is going to be there for them. And it's like, support keeps coming to mind. Like, they feel supported here.
Your culture of saying yes has really, we could see that through the interviews.
Oh, yeah.
When we first started talking, whenever I took this job, that was one of the first things we talked about, was that you always want to say yes. You want to find a reason to say yes. And that's kind of one of the things whenever they were talking about leadership or how you want to be led, that was maybe not specifically what they said, but that's kind of one of the things that kind of kept coming up, was that, the support and everything is that and that's, like I said, like we talked about that, for the last 3 years, or I guess that's how long we've been doing this together. But that's, you want to do that, and it shows with them. And not just them, with Dr. Litkey, with Even with Kenny, even. Just the culture around here is that he said that one of the greatest things that she loves about Doug was that your door's always open.
Yep.
And that she can go in there and talk to you and have a conversation with you, and that it's not going to be in there, and she's not an insignificant doctor. That she can go in there and have a conversation with you, and that it just goes back to that culture that we're creating, and the culture of yes. You're not going to just go in there and automatically say you're going to find a way to say yes. And whatever that yes means, that there's that culture that's being set.
Yeah, and it just taps into every bit of energy that they have.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have asked the question if they weren't hopeful to get.
That's right.
They've thought about it a long time
Yeah.
before they brought it as a proposal to say yes or no to. And if it didn't fit into our little plan, golly, look at Dr. Burson, perfect example. Went into family medicine, wanted to do OB, which is a really difficult thing to do as a family medicine doctor. Wanted to be really good when she got in the OR as far as C-sections and that sort of thing. So she went out and pursued a whole separate degree or specialization in surgery, the invasive surgeries that she can do. She went the extra mile rather than, and that's not to put down if you do a family medicine fellowship in OB, it's intense. It's 2 years of intensity. And then on top of that, she went and got this surgical specialization, her master's degree in public health. And then you take her rural emphasis on top of that. And, TJ, our marketing guy, did the last county needs assessment with not much background in how to do one. But now we have a physician, master's trained physician, born and raised in West Texas, with a background in public health. And I haven't really even asked her yet if she wants to help us with this year's. We have to do it every 3 years.
Yes, so it's this year. I vote yes.
A community needs assessment. But what a resource.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so, when I've got that resource, I'm hoping she says yes. I think that's where if you mentioned part of the culture is to say yes and be supported. But once you dig into these people and find out what makes them tick and the guts that it took for them to bring the question to you in the first place, man, you can capitalize on that energy. And I think that's probably why they feel supported. And we've got some positive energy.
Yeah. Well,
running with rolling planes right now.
And you've also, like you described your risk that you took. It seems like you kind of have to. It feels large at the time, but man, if you hadn't have made that choice, you wouldn't be. And it's interesting to see the cautious nature that you have. I understand it, first of all, but it's also like you hope not to look back and not reward yourself and have that good feeling, because the good feeling is what some people are after. How do you say we did something and we accomplished something? And I can tell you, compared to the rest of the country, they would switch spots, right, with you in a heartbeat. It's saying a lot for where you've come, and I'm so excited for your future. To me, it's just the beginning, and it's scary to get to where you got to, but I think it's just the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough world out there, and it's that to me. That's, I don't know. You asked me last time to kind of go back to my history and past, and I'm just there's so many things that happen that impact you along the way, and I just touched on a few of them, and it turned out to be an hour interview.
Yeah.
But I worked under a CEO once who he wasn't even taking credit for doing this, but he was talking about another CEO who had told his chief nursing officer. I came up through nursing, so I was a chief nursing officer when I got this advice. But he as a CEO, went to this CNO and said, I'm going to go get you lots of doctors, and I want you to take really good care of them and their patients.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, and I've told a few people that I was, the church that I grew up in was a church that was slowly failing and deteriorating, not because of a lack of interest or belief, but it's just old ways, and it was the same. Every single Wednesday was the same, every single Sunday was the same, and that sort of thing. And the church was beginning to fail, and the National Missouri Synod Lutheran leadership brought in a new pastor that was, all he did was just get a ton of things started. It's kind of like, it reminds me of that Jeremiah Johnson, the movie where the old grizzly bear hunter goes out and gets a grizzly bear chasing him, and then he runs right through the cabin and says, "You skin that one." That's kind of the way this pastor operated in our church. Was he just got a ton of things started, and everyone was going, "Where's the money going to come from? How are we going to do all this?" But he got it all started, and all you could do was, and every single thing that he started thrived, and the church started growing. And so I feel like to some degree that's
formed you.
There's the cautious side, and then there's that side where you got to be adventuresome and go have a grizzly bear chasing.
I know. That's a great analogy. Yeah, it's what it feels like in entrepreneurship too. I'll tell you from my perspective, it's very similar. You take these risks and you hold on for dear life in some cases, and then it's like. But I hope for people to remind me, look at where you are versus when it was just an idea, and you have to come to this point to go to the next one. And where are we going to be 6 months from now? That can be exciting.
And from my point of view, I'm the exact opposite of Doug. I mean, I shouldn't say the exact opposite. I have no cautiously in the optimism. I've been told, I don't know, 5, 10 times in, Walmart or, wherever I'm grocery shopping that just the reputation of the hospital in the past, 6 months to a year has done a complete 180. Yep. And then whenever Dr. Anderson got here, they would say, "The Dr. Anderson?" And, whenever, me and Doug are in Rotary together, and whenever Doug announced it, which I thought he was a little premature in announcing it, but obviously he wasn't. Sometimes he's smarter than I am. I'll never tell him that. But when he did, I didn't have no less than 5 ladies come up and talk to me, and in complete awe that it was, the Abilene Dr. Anderson that was coming here. So it's those kind of, which makes me not cautiously optimistic, because it's those kind of interactions that I'm having in the community, which of course I'm in the community quite a bit, but just, those interactions that I'm having that just shows that, yes, I understand why Doug's cautiously optimistic, but I'm seeing this every day where people are just constantly coming up to me and showing all the faith that they have in the leadership of the hospital and in the the services, of course. But just it's from the time I took the job to now, it's just a completely different conversation that we're having, and it's because of the leadership. It's because they have faith in what's happening here, and so while
one of the coolest stories, and TJ, you may have been the one that informed me of it, was so our local fire department is also our county's EMS. Mm-hmm. I don't think the guy wanted to go on the record, but one of our paramedics made the comment that it's so much different to go pick up a community member now than it used to be, because they're excited or secure in coming to this hospital.
Wow.
So this is a long-term paramedic that's used to fielding 911 calls, and he gets to the destination and people are very, very okay with.
Wow.
So what he said to me was, he said, "I don't know what you guys have been doing in the last six months, but before, people would, whenever I pick people up, they would tell me to do anything, whatever you do, do not take me to Rolling Plains." But he said, "Well, like I said, last 6 months to a year, I don't know what you did, but now I can pick people up that should be going to, diverted to somewhere else, and they're telling me, whatever you do, take me to Rolling Plains."
Oh my gosh.
So again, I think that leadership and, the culture change, it's obviously it has to do with the doctors, and the nurses and the respiratory therapists, and, that's a big deal. But I think that just the culture change and the leadership, and people trust what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal to a lot of people, and I like that's the part of telling the story that I'm excited about, is that we get to infuse hope.
Right.
Because if you remember where you felt maybe 5 years ago in this community, right? Yeah. And that's what the paramedics probably alluded
Absolutely.
to. The community remembers it.
Right.
And sometimes they don't know that it's, like they feel so differently, because it's hard to kind of go back and remember where you were. But you're right. I think there's a lot of hospitals, if you were to walk into their doors right now or walk into the community, you're going to get I don't know what's going to happen, the dreary feeling.
Right.
It's like it's a doom thing almost. And like they're going to pick up on what we feel. It's almost like, I was told one time, if you're in a relationship and your relationship's getting stale, go watch somebody who's in love, and then just let that be a guide for how you should behave towards each other. And I think there's some stuff, like when you look at what's exciting about this, Doug said energy. I think energy is a big part of it. And it's not just, I mean, individuals coming together creates a big energy. And that's what I feel from what's going on here compared to especially what's out there.
Yeah, well, and I'll add to that, you know, once again, my predecessor did a really amazing thing in going, she knew that our ER did not have a good reputation, and she went out and got the physician group that they were using in Abilene at Hendricks, a much bigger facility. And for a facility our size to have an entire group of ER doctors that are all emergency board certified physicians, you don't get that in a rural facility.
Right.
And so to some degree, we're creating, you know, we never have had, TJ didn't come into his role as a marketer, but we've never had a marketing strategy for this hospital.
Yeah.
This hospital's always been good. I think we're getting better, and that's showing in the awards, but we're also telling the stories and marketing, you know, so that there was a really strong foundation here long before I got here of it being a really good hospital, really good rural hospital.
Yeah.
And now we're just turning it up a notch, and that hope, whether it's saying yes or, you know, when a director comes to me and say, I want to try this, or it's you know, it's not just saying yes, but it's you take an environment where everybody's starting to really feel proud about what they're doing, and it's just really starting to catch.
Yeah, you're right. The foundation was being built, and I think energy could be that match, you know, and I think it's hard to get the energy, I think, when you feel the doom, you know, but without the energy, it's not going to light, you know, and so there's a lot of credit there. The people who are here now too, creating that match to, you know, and it's just the beginning. Who knows, right, where it's going to go from here, but it sure is fun to think about.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, in a way, all the cards are kind of stacked against us. You know, we talked about reimbursement last time. So we actually, our doctors, we say that they work for us. We actually employ them through a third-party company, and that really has to do with the liability piece of things. And at one time, a hospital couldn't hire their own physicians, and now they've dropped that to it. I believe if your population for your county is under 30,000, you can hire your own doctor. So we could, but we've stayed with this company, you know. But like when I'm making a pitch to our third party company saying I'm going to hire this OB-GYN, you know, I had to get that OB-GYN that we wound up not taking. I had offered a very huge salary with a very huge sign-on bonus. So not only did we get an OB-GYN with an incredible name and reputation and a full practice already, but we also saved a ton of money on the salary and the sign-on bonus. But I was prepared to make that huge investment in that OB-GYN that we didn't take because I knew that's what the community needed.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is in these times, especially 2023 was a horrible year for hospitals. It doesn't matter big or small. There's a very few that had a margin, but I'll guarantee you that margin, that they were probably close to a 10% margin, and it's down to a 2% margin or 1% margin. You know, there's still some hospitals out there that can say that they made money in 2023, but it was a brutal year. And the natural tendency for especially a rural facility working on county taxes would be to spend less, to shut down. And I don't think we've done anything extravagant, but we knew we had to market. People would say, do we really need to, if we're hurting so bad, do we need to have food at the board meeting? I mean, you look at our overall expenditure, that's not even half of a penny going into a bucket. Absolutely, we need to have food. You know, and people, you know, my executive team said, when things were looking kind of bleak a few months ago, you know, should we cut out our conferences? And our only hope of getting new and fresh ideas is to get out from these walls and go experience other things and see what technologies are out there. And I don't think there's been a single conference that anyone that's been, you know, and it costs $2,500, $3,000 to send somebody to a conference, but I'll guarantee you that money was made up in 2 days of any idea that they brought back. And then the whole, number one, you said yes to a conference, so that person is energized. They come back energized with new information, and it just builds into that whole engagement theory that we talked about last time.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
last time I think we talked about coffee.
We did. You know, but it's exactly
give them the
right.
coffee.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But that's like you didn't cut off the coffee, you know, because you were like you said, it was an expense, and you know, like you could have easily cut that off. And how far do you go to cut everything off, and there's nothing here left? And it is like it's almost like sometimes people feel like that's the only option that they've got is to cut, you know, and then. You know, again, you just said it, like energy is a big deal. It's a big deal in my world, you know, and I think for people watching, you know, I think just to be reminded of that, how it feels to have energy around you, what it takes to make energy. I mean, it's not easy. You know, I get up every morning and that's the first thing that I do is take care of myself so I can have energy to give to other people. And it takes a lot to get it myself, frankly, some days, right? But I believe in it so strongly that, you know, you're not going to go anywhere without it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really proud of you guys for what that's worth.
Well, and honestly, speaking as an employee of this place, it's been a place that I'm proud to work at. It's been a place that I think most of us are proud to be a part of.
And I think you speak for a lot of people.
I do too.
Yeah. Yeah. TJ's like, he's out there hustling every day. He gives it every fiber of what he's got, and then some, I'm sure, right? He's got
a lot of fibers right now. Just got back from a cruise.
Well, you know, you see people like going up to TJ, who's marketing, he represents marketing, and they believe in him. They talk to him. They trust him. You know, and it's just been like again, that's another thing I don't see when I'm out in the world. It's interesting and it feels like it's supposed to always be there. Like what you're doing is something that everybody should do. But when the energy's low, it's like nobody feels like it. Nobody feels like talking to your, you know, coworker. Yeah. And he's talked so fondly about the people that are going to come in here. It's always positive. It's always like the IT guy, Kenny, right? He came in.
Kenny Green.
And he spoke glowingly. He even said we should call the Employee of the Month award the Kenny Green Award because he could probably win it, you know. But it's just high praise of a fellow coworker, and how nice is that to have wherever you're working. I mean, you don't have to be a hospital and a corporation, right? It's really cool to have people running around talking so fondly about each other. Yeah, that you can't fake that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Me and Amy Bennett, the HR director, we were talking about a new little campaign that just one of those things that popped into my mind, and I said, let's do this. Where, you know, I guess I've tried it in the past, and it's always been shut down. Let's not do that. But when I was in Alaska, which I did a pretty short consulting contract job in Alaska, and the locals are just different people. I mean, they're just good, salt of the earth people that live in Alaska, and there's a lot of despair in Alaska.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really struck me is almost all of them have a dog. And if you're at the hospital, you wouldn't necessarily know that somebody, I don't know how many of our employees have dogs, but in Alaska, everybody has their dog in the car. And it's 20 degrees outside.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But they just worship their animals, their pets. And anyway, I don't even remember her function, but I just remember one of the ladies that always had her dog or dogs out in her four-wheel drive truck had one of the Yeti tumblers. You know, they were kind of new back then. And she'd put a sticker on it that said, wag more, bark less. And I don't know, I don't know why it resonated with me. But so I told Amy that I want you to order a whole bunch of wag more stickers, and we're going to start giving them out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I heard, I think it was Tyson DeGrasse, some scientist or whatever, and he said that just dogs in general, like the joy they feel when they see
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, just the joy they feel. That's all pure when they see you. You can't, you know, that's just amazing. Yeah. Awesome. So what's next? Anything that is like on the burner that you're excited about that's coming on the heels of this? Or are you just going to, you know, keep riding this wave?
Well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of credit here in that, you know, it was really uncomfortable being interviewed 3 to 6 months ago or whenever we did that, and you know how terrified I was with letting it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just see, you know, the Doug haters of my past just jumping on and say, this guy's nothing like that. Even though I genuinely felt I was 100%
Sure.
honest in displaying, who I was and what I wanted to do. But I was terrified.
Yeah.
But getting through it without any real negative repercussions just totally fueled a lot of confidence in me.
Good.
So you asked me what I'm excited about. I don't know that I have anything specific other than I think it's given me a lot of confidence to, I've some challenging conversations that I needed to have that I was avoiding. I've had them.
Oh, wow.
And every single one of them has wound up to be a better situation for me and the person that I had the conversation with.
Oh, man. High compliment.
But you don't do that if you're feeling
Right.
if there's even a little chink in your armor, you don't do that. Not that I don't have any chinks in my armor. It's just
Sure.
it's like, okay, what I'm doing is good, and it's not for sure. It's not just me. I mean, there's like I said, the foundation was there, and I'm bringing some fresh ideas to it. But the confidence to now, it's just almost like it magnified everything we talked about last time by 10.
Yep. That's what it's meant to do. I think that the credit, like you put yourself out there, and my bet was that there was going to be more supporters than there was haters. It's just for some reason we let the haters, get too much space. Yeah, they get too much space, right? And the only way to really test it is to test it, unfortunately, and that's the courageous thing to do. But we talked, TJ and I talked about how uncomfortable it was, and I've been there too. I get it, but I'm so glad you did it. It took, and the affirmation for me that came to you through that was amazing. There's some people out there that I was really happy to hear from that were supportive of, and I knew they would be. The story is so great, it's just he was engaging his employees, and that was as simple as it had to be. And there's so many people out there that work in hospitals that want somebody to focus on engagement, and you just, you talked about it as if it was a second nature. Like why wouldn't I do this? It was wonderful. People responded well.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here going, I can imagine knowing everybody that you interviewed, that they probably were sitting there with the same fear.
Yeah, they are. They are. They are. Today they were. I mean, you can see it, and some of them, you should see the avoidance behaviors too that happen. I was just telling TJ that you get these things scheduled, and I have a bunch of cancellations for some random reasons, but in my heart, I'm like, I get it. I empathize. Let's just avoid that feeling, But it's one of those things, I think you have to go through it. It's just a discipline type thing. You just kind of got to do it every once in a while to, make sure you're disciplined. Yeah.
Yeah. But so what am I excited about? Since we last talked, Fortis, what are the other awards you put up?
We have 2 top 100s. We have Becker's Healthcare. We have Chartis. On both of those, we have Women's Choice for our ER. We have a Press Ganey Guardian for our home health. Those are the ones since the last time we talked. Of course, in the 2023, we were top 20 with the National Rural Health Association. That the hasn't come out this year, so I don't know what we'll have this year, but I assume we'll at least be in the top 100, if not better there as well. But
yeah,
those 4 since the last time you guys have talked, and that's been the last 2 or 3 months. So they just keep coming.
Yeah, they just keep coming. That's exactly right.
And but to me, the reason they're coming is you've had family in the hospital recently. My assistant Carla, her sister was just in the hospital, and she's not blowing sunshine for me. She comes into the office just blown away at how amazing the experience was. And believe it or not, guess who was on call? Dr. Burson was on call and was able to figure out something that nobody else had figured out. It's just a metabolic situation that was kind of rare and a little bit difficult to find, and she found it, and now my assistant's sister is doing better than she has in months.
Wow.
But I guess what I'm saying is, so Carla, my assistant, rounds every single day, and she's hearing this every single day, and she came in as the family member of a patient and was still blown away by the one-on-one experience of seeing how it impacted her family member.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's almost like we're beyond engagement.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, I can.
It's who we are
yeah.
almost.
I can. I mean, of course, my dad didn't have the same fate. My dad passed away, but like he wouldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
It wouldn't matter if we couldn't even do the level of care here. He wouldn't want to go anywhere else. I mean, he would fight to stay here, even if it meant that we weren't going to be able to give him the care that he needed. He would still fight to be here. It's just that's the kind of care he got here.
Yep.
The specialized, the one-on-one care. It didn't matter which nurse it was. It didn't matter what department he was in. He loved being here because he knew that he was going to get that care. That they walked into the room. They treated him like he was their dad. And
That's amazing.
like I said, he didn't have the same outcome that Carla's sister did. But I'm still appreciative of everybody that took care of him, even though it wasn't the same outcome, because while he was here, he had that care. Like he had those people that were loving on him, like he was their dad.
Yep. Yeah. And there's so many experiences when you monitor social media like I do, you hear the bad a lot. And we need to counteract that. And the experience that you're talking about of a family member, I'd be comforted knowing that they felt that way, and no matter what the result was.
Right.
That was controllable by the hospital.
Sure.
And they controlled that. And they did such a good job that he had a pleasant experience,
Right.
The health outcomes are one thing, but
Right.
that feeling that he had makes you feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what makes me proud to be here. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not just. A lot of it is because I'm proud to work for Doug. I'm proud of this hospital. I'm proud of the people I work with. But it's also because I know when my family comes here, they're taken care of like their family.
Yep.
Another cool story is our director of med-surg was a patient of his when he was in Abilene, and she knew about his love of the Beatles, and as a welcoming gift, she created a Beatles album cover with the Dr. Anderson as the title.
Nice.
And he's got it proudly displayed.
So he's got it framed a big frame in his office, and not only that, but he asked me anytime I market him not to have a headshot of him. He wants that.
Yeah, where else would you have a nurse manager have a relationship like that with a new doctor?
Oh, yeah.
How more welcome could you?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not anybody in Abilene that wouldn't have done that for him, but that's Sweetwater, Texas.
Yeah, that's right. It is.
This hospital.
That is. It's it. It is what it is. And it's like, that's, you try to describe the energy the best you can, but that's certainly a part of it, is it starts with this kindness and consideration for others. It's acceptance of, that's, to me, that's genuine excitement about what's here, what's coming.
Yeah.
And I also, from the outside perspective, when I listen to you, sometimes I don't know if you guys know how worthy you are, but you're doing everything that you should be doing, and you got the right heart, so this is supposed to be the outcome. And a lot of people are the same way as you, but they don't get the outcomes, so, again, cautious optimism, a great thing to move forward with, but man, you deserve it.
Yeah, and there's also a growing confidence that whatever comes our way, I feel like we could take it on and adjust to it and do it better than anybody else. So, as far as what we're optimistic about or what is exciting, I think it's that we have been successful in a time when we're not supposed to be being successful.
Yeah.
And, half of you saying the other shoe could drop at any time.
Yeah.
But we're going to be a whole lot less scared to take the next chance.
Yep. Yeah.
And we've got, even if we fail, we've got some room to fall back a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what's exciting, is that we've proven that we can venture out and do some things we're not supposed to be doing at a rural hospital in Sweetwater, Texas.
I know.
I just got back from a conference, and I've said it before, and we haven't really been able to head that direction, but I guess right now my next dream is robotic surgery in a rural facility. So the conference I went to, there was a fairly rural, smaller, it's more of a surgery center, but they had actually gone into a new planning year with a strategic plan that they were not going to invest anymore in robotics. And this was like I said, it was a surgery center, and the surgeons didn't take too well to that administrative plan.
Right.
And the surgeons kind of took over the strategic plan, and they now have, I believe it's 6 surgery centers and 14 robots.
Wow.
And their whole goal from a physician standpoint was they wanted every patient to receive the same type of non-invasive quality care any day of the week, any time of the day, not just being scheduled 3 months out
Yeah.
but if you happen to have a hot gallbladder, we could go in and robotically do it less invasively with a better outcome and a less length of stay at midnight on a Saturday as we could. Anyway, that was a
Wow.
completely different model that this group of surgeons had adopted, and it was working. So, kind of rural hospital, I don't think there's that many robots around us.
There's not.
And I bet there's more physicians wanting time on the robot than there are robots.
Absolutely.
So,
And it's popular. Like, that's the other thing. I mean, popularity is such an interesting thing. It's an interesting time to consider popularity because it's driving decisions. The people who are watching TikTok, the people who are, trying to fit in socially, they do it in an interesting way. It's virtually, but they're all after they feel comfortable around stuff that's popular. They're after what's popular, So popularity is not a bad word anymore. It's actually something that people are more comfortable with. And so if you can find that popular thing and you can circulate that, then it will attract, and I have no doubt that there's an opportunity for something that's popular in this part of the country that would be like a sore thumb, almost stick out big time to others. Pretty interesting. And by the way, when I say popular, it's like there's robots in Tesla plants right now, and it probably won't be long till we'll have robots in our homes, and so it's like, this is just a baby step into that next step, but it's coming.
yeah.
We have a robot drywall facility out here, so
Yeah.
Do you really? That's interesting. I never even heard of that.
first one in the nation.
Wow.
Yep.
And a
So-
lifetime supply of limestone.
Wow. Oh, yeah. That's funny. That's a good point. Yeah, no, I think, I know it probably feels like a big decision to do. That's a big investment, right? But, right, if you don't, but confidence will help you make that good choice, right?
Well, but I think a year ago, my idea would have been our surgeons now could easily be trained on a robot, but would that necessarily generate more surgeries? Probably some. Some people that would be more willing to have surgery here than would drive to Abilene. But, I'm not seeing it so much as what more can we capitalize on this community of Nolan County, which is how I saw it before.
Yeah.
But if there's surgeons who would rather do it robotically all around us,
Yep.
that don't have access to a robot, we've created a whole new pull to our facility.
Hey, this is your host, Danny Mobley. Thanks for watching Humans of Healthcare. Please subscribe below for more great interviews.